Hi, Shalom Berger here for the Koren Talmud Bavli. We're going to be looking today at a Gemara in Berakhot on Daf Kavchet Amud Bet, a Gemara about a particular individual, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, and his message to his students on his deathbed. So, as you can see, the Gemara appears to be a page of Agadita, mainly a story section of the Gemara. There's no Tosfot, and therefore we have a lot of Gemara. We're looking here at the Vilna page, which in the Koren Talmud Bavli includes Nikud and Pisuk. Just to give you a sense of where this is coming from, the Mishnah opens with a description about davening, about special kinds of tefillot. Reb Nechunya ben Hakana hayamit palel b'chnisato lebeit hamidrash ubiyitziato tefillah ktsara. And the Mishnah goes and says what exactly this tefillah was. And from there, the Gemara segues to other people who offer special tefillot or thoughts. And we have, for example, K'shechala Reb Eliezer, Nichnasu Talmidav Levakro, his students came and wanted to hear some final parting words from Reb Eliezer. The part that we're going to focus on is here just before the second Mishnah on the page, is the story about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and the messages that he gave to his students on his deathbed. We're going to look at that from the Gemara itself, from the English side of the Koren Talmud Bavli. So, as we noted before, Tan Rabbanak Shachal Reb Eliezer Nichnasu Talmidav Levakro. That's an introduction to the part that we're going to look at, which is the story about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Uchshechol Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai nichnasu talmidav levakro. When Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai became ill, his students came to visit him. Kevan sharao tam hitchil livkot. When he sees his students, he begins to cry. Amru lo talmidav. His students said to him, Ner Yisrael, the light of Israel, Amud hayamini, the right pillar, Patish hachazak, the strong hammer. Mipnei ma taboche. Why are you crying? Amar lahem, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai responds, Ilu lifnei melech basar vadam hayu molichim oti. Were they bringing me before a flesh and blood king, shahayom kan umachar bakever, who today is here, but tomorrow is in the grave. Shim ko'es alai ein kaso kasolam. If he becomes angry with me, it's not an eternal anger. V'im osreini, if he imprisons me, ein isuro isurolam. It's not eternal imprisonment. V'im mimiteni, even if he kills me, ein mitato mitat olam. It is not an eternal death. V'ani achol lefaiso b'dvarim u'leshachado b'mamon. And I can perhaps talk to him, I can maybe even bribe him. But yet, I would be crying, I'd be nervous about what lies in the future. But, in reality, on the day of my death, I know I'm going to be brought before God, the King of Kings. He lives forever. If he becomes angry with me, it's forever. V'im osreini, isuro isur olam. If he imprisons me, it is eternal imprisonment. V'im mimiteni, mitato mitat olam. If he kills me, it's eternal death. V'eini yachol lefaiso b'dvarim v'lo l'shachado b'mamon. I know I can neither convince him, nor can I pay him off, nor can I bribe him. V'lo not only this. I know there are two paths ahead of me. Achat shel Gan Eden, v'achat shel Gehinom. One leads to the Garden of Eden, and the other to Gehenna, to hell. Ve'eni yodea be'ezah molichim oti. V'lo evke. I don't know where they're bringing me. Should I not cry? One of the issues that certainly needs to be discussed here is what exactly is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's response? The students say, You are the greatest Jewish leader of our generation. Why are you crying? What are you nervous about? In essence, they are asking, you know where you are going to be taken. What is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's response? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, I don't know where they're taking me. One thing we do not have here is a real explanation of what his concern is. Let's read on a little bit. Amrulo, Rabbeinu Barchenu. They ask for a blessing from Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Amar lahem, Yihi ratzon shetehei mara shamayim alechem kamara v'asar v'adam. You should be as afraid of God as you are of man. Amrulo talmidav ad kan. His student said, is that it? Amar lahem ulavai. We should only be so fortunate. Teidu, I can prove it to you. Kish adam over aveira omer shelo yirani adam. A person who sins looks around first and checks that no one is looking. And finally, b'shat ptirato amar lahem, panu kelim mipnei hatum'ah, ve'echinu kisei lemelech lechizkiyahu melech Yehuda sheba. At the moment of his death, he said, clear out the vessels that will become ritually impure and would have to be destroyed if they're in the room with a dead person, and prepare a chair for Chizkiyahu, the king of Yehuda, who is coming. This also is certainly something that deserves some thought. Usually, we think about Eliyahu HaNavi coming to bring someone to the next world. Why is Chizkiyahu doing this? And at least by way of explanation, it would be worth looking to see who Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was. And in the personality section we see, you can certainly investigate this further, that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was the leader of the Jewish community in Jerusalem at the time of the destruction of the temple. Perhaps this might shed light on some of his concerns. If you take a look here in the notes, they ask specifically the question about, well, why would it be Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda who is coming? And we see that there is an answer here of Reb Sadia Gaon, for example, and another one from the Tzion L'Nefesh Chaya. The one I'm going to suggest that we look at is Rabbi Herzog. The answer is brought in the name of Rabbi Herzog, who was the chief rabbi of Israel when the state of Israel was established, which says that perhaps King Chizkiyahu was in a similar situation to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, that he too was in Jerusalem when the city was besieged, and yet he made a different decision. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made concessions to the Romans, while Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda did not. Maybe someone who was in the same exact situation as Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is the one who should bring him to the next world. So, what I'd like you to do for homework, first of all, is review the story as we have seen it, first with the English, and then in the Vilna Shas, where you can make sure that you can read, understand the words, share this in a class or with a chavruta, and then answer two questions that we've discussed. Go through the different messages that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is giving. What makes them unique to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai? Can you figure any of those out? Why is he thinking about those things based on his own experiences in life? And finally, how might the experience that he has about how might his experience explain his uncertainty as to whether he is going to be led to Gan Eden or to Gehinnom? Shalom Berger for the Koren Talmud Bavli. Thanks so much for listening.